There is a restless feeling building around Ibrox, and it is not the kind that comes from anticipation or excitement. It is the sort that creeps in quietly, the kind that makes you look twice at decisions that once seemed bold and full of promise. Not long ago, the arrival of Ant-Man felt like a real statement of intent, the type of signing that signals ambition and forward thinking. A player stepping in with over 20 goal contributions behind him, confidence flowing through his game, and a clear expectation that he would add sharpness and cutting edge to the attack. It all pointed towards a move that made sense on every level. But football has a way of shifting narratives quickly, and right now, that early optimism feels like a distant memory. After a debut that gave supporters a glimpse of what might come, the momentum has not just slowed, it has almost completely stalled. Under Danny Rowe, opportunities have become limited, and when they have come, the impact simply has not followed. There is a visible struggle, not just in terms of form, but in how he fits into the structure that the manager is trying to build. Confidence, which once looked like one of his strongest assets, now appears fragile. Every touch, every run, every decision seems weighed down by expectation, and that pressure is only increasing as the weeks pass. What makes the situation more complicated is that this is no longer just about performances on the pitch. The club made a long-term commitment, tying him down until 2029 on a wage that reflects belief and investment. Around £14,000 a week is not a figure you attach lightly. And when that level of commitment does not translate into consistent output, questions naturally begin to surface. It becomes a wider issue, one that touches on planning, recruitment, and how risks are managed over time. Even when looking beyond club football, there is little to suggest that a turnaround is just around the corner. At international level with Finland, the same pattern continues. The spark that once defined his game has not reappeared, and instead there is a growing sense of inconsistency that raises further doubts. It is not just about a dip in form anymore. It is about whether he can rediscover the level that made him such an appealing prospect in the first place. Tactically, the challenge becomes even clearer. With Rowe leaning towards a 4-4-2 system, the natural spaces for a player like Ant-Man are limited. He does not slot easily into the roles that are being prioritized, and as a result, he finds himself on the outside looking in more often than not. That lack of fit only adds to the difficulty of rebuilding rhythm and confidence, creating a cycle that is increasingly hard to break. The fewer minutes he plays, the harder it becomes to make an impression, and the longer that continues, the louder the doubts grow. That leads to a question that cannot be avoided much longer. What is the next step? There is already quiet talk of a potential move in the summer, but that path is far from straightforward. Other clubs will be fully aware of the situation. They will know the transfer fee that was paid, they will understand the wage structure, and they will recognize the lack of impact in recent months. All of that shapes negotiations, and it often points in one direction, towards a deal that may require Rangers to accept less than they initially invested. And that is where the situation takes on greater significance. This is not simply about one player struggling to find his place. It reflects on the broader approach to building a squad, on how decisions are made, and on how quickly things can shift from promise to concern. A contract that once symbolized belief can, if not managed carefully, become a weight that affects flexibility moving forward. As things stand, Ant-Man's position remains uncertain, balanced between the possibility of a late resurgence and the risk of becoming a costly misstep. There is still time for him to influence how this story unfolds, but that window is narrowing with every passing match. The coming weeks carry real importance, not just for his future, but for how this entire chapter will be viewed in the context of Rangers' ongoing rebuild. While that situation continues to unfold in the background, another chapter at Ibrox is quietly coming to an end, and this one feels less dramatic, but just as significant when you look at the bigger picture of where the squad is heading. Matando's time with Rangers has been drifting towards this moment for quite a while, and now it finally looks like the move away is set to happen, not with a huge announcement or a major transfer fee, but with a quiet agreement that allows both the player and the club to move forward in different directions. For a player who once arrived with genuine expectations and long-term plans attached to his name, the way things have played out is a reminder of how quickly football can change. Managers change, systems change, priorities change, And sometimes a player simply finds himself on the outside of the project without doing anything dramatically wrong. Opportunities this season have been extremely limited, and when a player is only appearing a handful of times across an entire campaign, it becomes clear that he is no longer part of the immediate plans. There had already been signs earlier in the year that the situation was heading this way. During the winter window, there was talk of a move, and it came close to happening, but the deal never fully materialized. That left him in a kind of limbo, still at the club but without a clear role, training with the squad but not truly involved when it came to match days. Returning from a loan spell and trying to rebuild momentum is never easy, and unfortunately for him, the reset he needed never really came. Now the move to Norway offers something that has been missing for quite some time, which is the chance to play regularly and feel important within a squad again. Sometimes a change of environment is exactly what a player needs, especially after a period where confidence and rhythm have both taken a hit. Regular minutes, a different league, and a fresh start can completely change the direction of a career that feels like it has stalled. From Rangers' point of view, the decision is very much about shaping the squad for what comes next. When a player is not going to sign a new contract and is not part of the manager's plans, it makes sense to move early rather than let the situation drag on. It frees up space in the squad, reduces the wage bill, and opens the door for new players who better fit the tactical approach that is being built. These are the kinds of decisions that often go unnoticed compared to big signings, but they are just as important when it comes to building a balanced and competitive team. Behind the scenes, there are already clear signs that planning for the next transfer window is well underway. Defensive options are being monitored, performances are being tracked, and the recruitment team is clearly looking at profiles that match the direction the manager wants to take the team. This is not about quick fixes, but about building something more stable and more suited to the way the team is expected to play moving forward. At the same time, the current squad still has a lot of work to do before the season comes to an end. The final stretch of matches will play a huge role in shaping the mood around the club going into the summer. Training sessions are becoming more focused, tactical work is becoming more detailed, and there is a clear understanding that the manager is still learning about his players while the players are still adapting to his ideas. That process normally happens during a full preseason, but in this case it is happening in the middle of a competitive campaign, which makes everything more complicated. A warm weather training camp has been planned, and that could turn out to be a very important period for the squad. Time away from the usual routine, more time on the training pitch, and the chance to work on tactical organization without the immediate pressure of midweek matches can make a real difference. For a coaching staff that came in without the benefit of starting the season themselves, this is a rare opportunity to properly implement their ideas and build stronger cohesion within the group. Before that, though, there are still important fixtures to be played, and performances in those matches will heavily influence how supporters view this period under the current manager. Results always shape perception, but beyond results, there will also be a focus on performances, structure, organization, and whether the team is showing clear signs of progress and identity. When you look at everything together, the potential departure of Matando is not just about one player leaving. It represents part of a wider transition that is slowly taking place. Players who do not fit the system are moving on, new targets are being identified, and the squad is gradually being reshaped to reflect a different footballing vision. These changes do not happen overnight, and they are rarely smooth, but they are often necessary when a club is trying to reset its direction and build something more consistent for the future. For some players, this period will represent opportunity, a chance to prove they belong in the next version of the team. For others, it may signal that their time is coming to an end. That is the reality of football during a rebuild, and Rangers are clearly moving through that phase right now, making decisions that are not always dramatic on the surface, but could have a major impact on where the club goes over the next few seasons. There is also a growing sense that the next transfer window will be one of the most important the club has faced in recent years. Not necessarily because of the number of signings that will arrive, but because of the type of players that will be targeted. The focus now appears to be on players who fit a very clear tactical idea, players who can adapt quickly to the system and who bring consistency rather than just potential. That shift in recruitment strategy often comes after periods where signings have not fully worked out, and it suggests that lessons are being learned behind the scenes. Another factor that cannot be ignored is the financial balance of the squad. Modern football is not just about building the strongest team on the pitch. It is also about managing contracts, wages, and long-term sustainability. Moving on players who are not playing regularly is part of that process, even if those moves do not generate large transfer fees. Reducing the wage bill and creating room for new contracts is sometimes just as important as receiving money from transfers. Within the dressing room, these kinds of changes always create a different atmosphere as well. Players know that when a rebuild is happening, every training session and every match becomes an opportunity to prove their value. Competition for places often increases, intensity in training rises, and the manager gets a clearer picture of who can be relied upon moving forward. This period can be difficult for some players, but for others it becomes the perfect moment to establish themselves as key figures in the team. The manager and his staff are also using this time to evaluate not just performances in matches, but mentality, work rate, and tactical understanding. Sometimes a player might not be the most talented in the squad, but if he perfectly understands the system and executes instructions with discipline, he can become extremely important. On the other hand, talented players who cannot adapt to the tactical structure often find themselves gradually losing their place. Supporters are beginning to recognize that this is a period of transition rather than immediate transformation. Everyone always wants quick success, quick improvements, and immediate results, but in reality, building a team with a clear identity usually takes time. Training methods need to be implemented, players need to understand positioning and movement, and new leaders often emerge during these phases when the squad is evolving. There are also younger players in the squad who may benefit from this transition period. When a team is being rebuilt, opportunities often open up for players who might not otherwise get regular minutes. The coaching staff may start looking more closely at development players, giving them chances to train with the first team and potentially feature in matches. This can be an important step in building a squad that is not only competitive but also sustainable in the long term. Looking ahead to the final matches of the season, there is still a lot to play for in terms of momentum and confidence. Finishing the season strongly can completely change the mood going into the summer, while a poor run can increase pressure and create uncertainty. Players know that these matches are not just about the league table, they are also about their own futures and their role in the squad next season. All of this means that the coming months will be extremely important for the direction of the club. Decisions will be made, players will move on, new faces will arrive, and the shape of the squad will continue to change. What we are seeing right now is not the finished version of this Rangers team, but a side that is in the middle of an important transition, trying to build something more stable, more consistent, and more competitive for the seasons ahead. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. A ripple of intrigue has begun to sweep through Scottish football circles as whispers grow louder that Joe HUGILL has made up his mind and agreed terms with Rangers. While nothing has been formally confirmed, the sense around Ibrox and beyond is that something significant is quietly taking shape behind the scenes. HUGILL, long regarded as a forward of real promise, has been the subject of mounting interest over recent months. Sources close to the situation suggest that discussions have progressed swiftly, with Rangers presenting a vision that clearly resonated with the young striker. It is understood that the player sees the move as an opportunity not only for regular football, but to develop within a club where expectation and ambition walk hand in hand. There's a feeling among supporters that this could be a shrewd bit of business. Rangers have been keen to inject fresh attacking options into the squad, and HUGILL's profile, physical, direct, yet composed in front of goal, appears to fit the mold of what the club has been seeking. Though still early in his career, there is a quiet confidence that he could flourish in the Scottish game. Naturally, questions remain. Until official word emerges, this remains firmly in the realm of speculation. Yet the consistency of the reports, coupled with the growing chatter from credible quarters, lends weight to the belief that this is more than idle gossip. Should the move materialize, it may well signal a statement of intent from Rangers, a willingness to invest in youth while maintaining their competitive edge. For HUGILL, It could represent the next bold step in a journey that many believe is only just beginning. For now, all eyes remain fixed on Ibrox, waiting to see if the whispers turn into something far more concrete. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.